welcome back to yet another weekly episode of the Off the Tools podcast. How are we doing, Andy?
Good. You?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good. So,
bit chilly.
Get off the phone. That is today's subject. Elaborate, Andy. Elaborate.
We don't mean Candy Crush. We don't mean texting your bird. But we do mean that, yeah. So, answering the phone yourself is damaging your business. There, I said it. It's a bold statement. So this is possibly not suited to the guys that want to keep their business as very much the local guy down the road. Ring Dave or John or whatever his name is. He will answer the phone. He will give you advice. He'll tell you how to top your boiler up. He'll tell you how to reset it. He'll tell you how to flick your fuse switches back to see if they're okay.
Charger.
But yeah, blah, blah, blah. It's not for that. It's the guys that want to elevate the business, be more professional, charge more money, scale, grow, take on more lads on the road, whatever it might be. So basically, if you're answering the phone yourself, you're limiting your ability to grow.
But Andy, no one else knows the business like I do. I'm the only one that could do it. No one knows the business like I do.
I'm going to say girl because this isn't just my opinion. This is also based on stats. Girls are better in admin roles. The brain works. Female women's brains work differently to men's. Men are better with things. Women are better with people. That's why most engineers are men, most tradesmen are men, most healthcare professionals are women. And that's, again, stats. So, and then that extends into the more admin-based roles because it's not a thing. They're not fixing something. They're better with the data in that way. But ultimately, the core of it is women are better on the phone. They are better received on the phone, both by women and men. Men prefer to talk to women on the phone and women prefer to talk to women on the phone. So putting a female answering the phone instantly elevates your business. There's also a subconscious thought process that goes through a customer's mind that if a female answers the phone, you're already higher up than the guy who answers the phone while he's driving the van. Yeah, or you're lying under a bath or a boiler or a fuse board or you fit in a socket, whatever it might be. Even if you're on the AirPods, people still know. So there's different degrees of how it looks. Some people might think, oh, it's just someone's wife answering the phone. That's fine. That's still way better. Or there might be a noisy office background because there's 4 members of staff in the office. But either way, the second that a female answers the phone, statistically, they know it's very unlikely to be the trade business owner, and then they're already on to, oh, this isn't the normal business that the sole trader down the road. So that elevates you straight away. And the reason that's relevant is, as you want to start lifting your pricing, you need to, as we spoke about before, bring value in other ways, and that brings value straight away. That's just in a very face value perspective. On top of that, the next bit is they are not caught up in the ins and outs of doing the job. They can be hyper focused on that back end, managing the diary. They're sat in front of a screen ready to do the work, as opposed to you saying, oh, just let me finish this job and then I'll book you in, and then you forget, and then things like that. So they're in a dedicated position to deal with the management of the diary. And if you use a job management software, I would say that's absolutely the next stage to implement after the job management software or the CRM, is to have someone managing the diary, even if it's just you on your own. And then last little sort of input is I actually don't advise from a long-term perspective having wife, mum, sister, cousin, auntie, whatever it is, in a full-time, long-term position in the business. But I will caveat and say it's a good stepping stone. The reason I say I don't think it's the best choice is a few things. One, they probably don't really want to do it. You just think it's the logical thing because tax benefits, convenience benefits, kids' school runs, things like that. But they, A, probably don't want to do it, and B, they won't do it as good as someone who has prior experience doing it. Yeah. But yeah, it is a good stepping stone in the short term.
But Andy, it costs me too much money. I'm playing devil's advocate, everyone.
No. I'm liking this style because I like being put on the spot. While they are a non-direct revenue driving role, I will challenge that. And again, speaking from experience, they will transform the business so much they will bring more revenue in from an indirect way. So, for example, better experience from the customer, which sets them up from when you or your lads arrive on site, they're already primed. The lady who put the job in, she was lovely. Reviews. When we added, so we used the VA service first. That was a male at the end of the phone, and we didn't really get any reviews that mentioned that guy. Once we brought the office manager in, who's a female, because again they're dedicated to the role, friendly, polite. Customers prefer talking to them, so there's a bit more banter. The reviews just went off the chart with it. Every mention, lady who answered the phone was lovely. Lady who booked the job in was so nice. Review after review. So that's long-term growth off the back of doing that. But ultimately, to maybe give a more obvious answer, if you spend a few hours a week doing admin work, then you can pass that off to your full-time admin person or part-time admin person to get started with. And then if you want to just use that time to do more jobs, because your conversion rate's going to go up because they're better at it than you. You can then use the time to do more work, and you're going to free up some evening time as well, because a lot of guys, they'll work hard through the day, do the admin work in the evening. It might cost you some money initially, but how much is that evening time worth? You've got young kids, you want to spend time with your partner, whatever it might be, you're going to buy back that initial time. But yeah, I would say for the kind of salary that you would pay someone in that role, they are double, triple, 4 times worth what that salary is.
This is a poignant point. I've literally just finished writing a chapter of a book that I'm writing, and the chapter that I literally just finished recently was about getting yourself out of the lower value time elements in your day. So if you can charge, let's just say £100 an hour as an engineer, right? Why are you doing tasks like answering the phones, booking the jobs in that are £10, £15 an hour tasks? And the more of those tasks you do personally as the business owner, you're devaluing and losing opportunity by doing it. So yes, there's an initial cost to getting someone in at the back end, but the longer term approach, the more of those lower ticket items that you don't have to spend your time on will create capacity for you to focus on the higher value tasks that need you as the owner, whether that be physically out in the earning that £100, or whether it be even higher value tasks like marketing ideas, like hiring, like building systems in the business. All of those things, it all plays a part. So Andy mentioned like that when you get someone in the back end, it's not a direct revenue sort of job. So it can seem like a cost, but in reality, it's an investment, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. In so many ways, as you know, what we've just touched on. And if you want to move forward and build an actual business, that's the way it has to do. And it's a poignant point that you made, and that's because that's the most common sort of answer when you suggest it is, well, nobody knows the business like me. It's like, it's much easier to teach someone what they need to know about the business than you might think, because they're the guys that are normally giving a degree of technical advice over the phone, or using their own knowledge to someone say, oh, I've got XYZ problems. Again, let's use a boiler, for example. Someone might ring up and say, I know, let's use a Worcester, for example. I've got a leak on the right-hand side of my boiler. For the boiler lads that are listening, they'll know it's either going to be the right-hand block or the flow adapter. They would probably then use that knowledge to book in a repair straight off the back of that knowledge, which, again, we spoke about in a previous episode, is costing you money anyway, because you should be going and charging from a breakdown perspective, rather than going buying loads of gear and taking it there on the off chance it's going to be one of 2 or 3 or 4 problems. So if you take a different viewpoint on it and say, well, actually, that's just a breakdown. It doesn't matter if the girl at the end of the phone doesn't know anything about boilers, what the boiler is, what the problem is, whatever it is. The boiler's got a problem. It needs to be booked in for a breakdown. That's all the girl needs to know. It gets booked in for a breakdown. So it's that elevating yourself to moving away from being that local guy that was just said, because you want to be a more professional business. It would actually be more beneficial to have someone who doesn't know about the trade itself, because then they will be very black and white. And one final thing, and we've spoke about this at length, is as the business owner, if you're the owner operator, you can be always feel very emotionally tied to the business and make decisions off the back of that. And a big one, and you're laughing because we spoke about it so much, is the pricing side of things. People really struggle with the pricing. They don't want that rejection because they take it emotionally because they own the business. Whereas a girl in the office working to a somewhat of a structure, or not necessarily a script, because you want them to own the role themselves, but a pricing structure can be there in black and white, and that's what it is. They're not emotionally tied to that pricing structure. They come into the business new, you lift your prices up off the back of adding value from someone in the office, and this is the pricing they tell it over the phone, and they're not fazed by it. So it also helps indirectly to allow you to charge more money, because you're not going to deal with the emotions. You're not going to feel awkward because you used to charge 60 quid and now you charge 100 quid.
It's one of the biggest things that I think is the benefit, is that emotion, right? We're all 99% of us. We're nice people, probably too soft. We've all done that job for the person where we haven't charged, or we felt under pressure and gave a low price because for whatever reason, we felt that it was the right thing to do. Yeah, there's room for being a nice guy, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but the business has costs. The business needs to generate certain targets and money and everything. And having that barrier between you as the owner and the customer just makes life so much easier when you're sending quotes out, when you're dealing with inquiries. Having that third party office lady deal with that just makes the whole process smoother, doesn't it? And it means that you're charging what you're worth, and you're charging for the time that you're spending, rather than falling foul to being a soft touch.
And you don't even have to have aspirations of building a big business. Go back to it was either the last or the second to last podcast of season 1. That was a fundamental that I gave my opinion on, of even if you are happy just being you and you never want it to go beyond that, you should still have someone answering the phone and job management CRM system in place. Like, even if it's just that, because think of it from a perspective of, well, if you're a really good engineer and you only want to be a really good engineer, you shouldn't be answering the fucking phone, because that's a bad use of your time. You know what I mean? Let someone who's going to be better at it, it'd be more well received over the phone, do that, and you can hyper focus and double down on being out on the tools.
Ultimately, it's just being an amateur and being professional, like, you know, fundamentally, isn't it? You know, by having someone in a role dedicated to being that customer service person that deals with that, you're just professionalizing your business, which builds better aura with the customers. Like everything we just spoke about, you know, you can charge more, you're more organized. Having someone specifically in that role just is the professional way to run a business, isn't it?
And stress reduction, the reduction in stress, because, you know, and I always struggled with this as well when I was still on the tools. It's very hard to flick between those two roles. Some guys probably find it easy. Some guys probably find it a lot harder than I always did. But it's really hard to jump between being admin, business owner guy, and then go out and do your trade job, fix a boiler, whatever it might be, fault find electrics, and then you got another phone call and you get back in the van, you get your diary out, and it's hard to go ping, 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 and bounce back and forth. Whereas if you can just stay in the zone of being the tradesman, then you're going to be better at what you're going to be more productive. You're not going to have any time in between where you've got to then pivot back. Like I say, that's probably not relevant to everyone, but it was relevant to me, so I'm sure it's relevant to others.
A lot of people, I know for me, even now, you know, like if I'm on a task and I get distracted by something, phone call, whether it be the wife, the kids, whether it be one of my clients, whatever it is, it's not just that small time of the distraction. It's then trying to get back in. So the way, like my brain, I'm a scatterbrain, you know, I move around a lot, just the way I am. And I'm sure a lot of people will resonate with that. So if you can limit that 2 minute, let's say, what's an average phone call? 4 minutes, say, really? If you're going to be polite, introduce yourself, you know, take their details, book the job in, say 4 to 5 minutes. But it's not just that. It's then the time it takes to get back onto whatever it was you were doing. So you could easily lose 10 minutes of phone call.
And that's why so many guys don't answer the phone then, or ring them back later.
Yeah, and then that enters a whole different realm of human error, forgetting, not being organised. You know, then that gives a bad vibe to the customer. If you've not rang them back, they ring the next guy, and it just snowballs, doesn't it?
Nowadays, the people won't wait. You know, we've had a lot of conversations with lads who have come to us for advice because of that very scenario. I'm too busy. I can't answer the phone when I'm under a boiler. I ring them back later on, and people just don't wait the way they used to. You don't answer the phone, they'll just ring someone else. You know, we've picked up a lot of customers over the years, last couple of years, where they had previously had a local sole trader type guy. He's got a bit busier, and they're just like, oh yeah, well, rang him a couple of times, he didn't answer the phone. So then they ring someone who's got a full-time office person, they pick the phone up straight away.
Yeah.
And that's it then, that customer's lost.
In this day and age, every call should be being answered. You know, within crazy, like there's certain exemptions there, but 99.9% of phone calls should be being dealt with. So if you're not able to do that, then you need to find a solution. And for me, the first step, so if you're a one-man band, you're in the van, you're running off a paper diary, you're booking in your own jobs, you're dealing with every inquiry that comes through, the first step before doing anything should be to get a job management system, because until you've got a centralized system that then can be done by somebody else, because that, quite frankly, you know, if you're running your business that way, then really you're the only one that can do it. And if you're happy and you're listening. So I'm guessing you're not. So that would be stage one, would be to centralize that through something like ServiceMate or whatever alternatives are out there. But straight away, once you've systemized that business to a degree, it doesn't have to be in depth. It doesn't have to be all singing, all dancing. It just needs to basically manage your diary and manage the jobs, doesn't it? So you can do that at a very basic level, even if you just commit to Google Calendar or Apple Calendar. Having somewhere that is not in your van, not on a paper diary, is stage one. But immediately after that, that's when you need to then outsource the call handling. Whether it be a VA service. So for those that don't know, VAs are like virtual assistants. So you basically pay per minute and someone externally deals with it. Ideally, if you can afford to, you should be looking to bring someone in to the business, but not everyone can do that straight away. Andy, you started off with a VA. I started off with a VA. That seems to be the more natural progress because of the availability of that sort of service. You can test the water, can't you? But not all VAs are equal. Unfortunately, there's a lot of not so good ones out there. So it can be quite difficult to find a VA service that works for your business. But ultimately, the goal should be to have someone working for the business, in the business, answering the calls, isn't it?
100%. That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah. Right. On that note, any closing thought?
Just don't think of it as a cost. Think of it as a way to free up time and allow you to generate more profit because of it. And it's you can use that how you see fit, whether you want to use that time, free up your time and use it from a personal perspective. That's still a win. Or free up the time and use it to make more money. That's obviously more of a financial win, but ultimately it just elevates the business and allows you to deliver a better service and charge more money for it as well. So It's more revenue driving than most people might think.
And so I know we were going to end there, but I just had another idea, like discussion point here. So sorry. Last week's episode was on marketing, right? And if you listen to that, if you haven't, go back an episode and listen. Having someone else, if you're going to spend a penny on marketing, you need to ensure that every phone call's answered, don't you? If you're spending money on marketing and you're not answering every call, then that's a big problem. You're basically throwing money down the pan, aren't you?
Yeah.
And it's even more emphasized when it comes to cold leads because it becomes a volume thing, doesn't it? Like I'm not going to go over last week's episode, but if you haven't listened, go and listen to it. There's another little challenge. Like if you're spending money to generate work and you're still the person that's answering the phones and booking it in, then that's an alarm bell. That's a warning sign that something has to change because otherwise you're building on very loose foundations.
Yeah.
Right. On that note, see you next week.